Hello and welcome to another update video on Bitcoin. We are here on the daily chart. I also want to take a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart in this video because we start to see some movements in the altcoin sector. Not unexpected. Those of you who attended the Member Live session on Sunday will know that there were some setups. There was some potential to the upside. There were talks about Bitcoin dominance in this live session on Sunday, and we said that maybe, not only maybe, but I mean, there's a good chance actually we start to see a nice rally in the altcoin sector in November. So we'll see how that plays out. Of course, we have to be selective. Now, what I don't expect, and I have to be very clear, is a wide and broad and everything is running altcoin season. I don't think we get that, but we started to see some setups. I mean, we looked at 40 coins. We need to double check the watch list, but yeah, we Virtual was one of them, yeah, and we started to see some others. But a lot of these coins are still below critical trend line, so we'll take a look at these, in the altcoin videos. But just from a broader point of view, we use our Member Live session on Sunday as like a sentiment tool. So a couple of weeks ago, after the flash crash, nothing was moving, right? And then we saw, however, on Sunday, because we looked at like 40 charts, we started to see a lot of support levels develop. We started to see some structures. Some were even forming 1-2-1-2 setups to the upside. So it's a good, there are many coins that we don't cover here on YouTube really, but in the live streams. And so it's a much broader evaluation of the altcoin sector, you could say, because Elliott Wave measures sentiment. So it's much better than any fear and greed index. So that's why I said, look, I want to prepare you guys also for November. Again, I'm not one of those who says like there will be a full-scale altcoin season, everything. But seasonalities-wise, Bitcoin dominance usually drops in November. So we're going to take a look at that. And the structures started to support that. All very fragile still. I mean, this is not a market for those with weak mental health. I don't know. You know what I mean. You need to be stable, to handle this market, especially in this cycle, especially in the late stages of this cycle. But I guess this was always the case in crypto. So Bitcoin, I wanted to take a moment to say again, to highlight again, what would be needed to confirm that we are starting to go into a bear market, right? This is not me calling for a bear market. I just want to highlight, rather the opposite actually. I want to make sure everybody understands what, from my point of view at least, and this is not exact science, right? But from my point of view, what would constitute the start of a bear market? As far as I can identify it right now, I want to be very honest with you. It might change, if something breaks and then suddenly we start to see another impulse, well, it was just the first signal, right? But basically what we have is we have the 55-week EMA here. You know that one. It's currently just below 100K. This is the white line here. We're currently holding way above it. A test of this level is possible, even in all of these scenarios we still, we talked about. So we could get a test of this 55-week exponential moving average. A break below it, though, especially a weekly candle close, I think would be somewhat problematic. We haven't had a weekly candle close below it in the last couple of years. And so most of this bull market we spent above this 55-week EMA. So for me, that just means, well, kind of independent from Elliott Wave, that if we get a break below that level, that is a good indication that something is shifting. But only the first indication, because let's be honest, the last corrections that happened, and the extent of these corrections, even as normal in a bull market, we had 32 to 35%. That was here as well, in above 30% on Bitcoin, and that is kind of normal in crypto. So if we just go to that level from the high, that's like 22%. So without a problem, because we've done it before, in a bull market, Bitcoin can correct like 33% or so. And this would take us to the lower end of our support area, Fibonacci support, measured from the low of the April, from the April low. So all I want to say is this would only be the first signal. It would be something deeper, because this is a trend filter. We would break below a trend filter. So that would be a first warning. But again, we could still use the entire support box, yeah, all the way down to 83K. So I'm using the 55-week EMA as a first signal. And another signal would be a break below the Fibonacci support area there, 83K. Whereas full confirmation would only come with a break below the April low, and that's around 74K. So, you know, if you want to wait for all confirmations, that's up to you, but I can say to you that there are many support levels below, and we have to get obviously something that is deeper than it has been so far in this cycle. Now, the difference is that before in this cycle, like when these deeper pullbacks happened, right, the wave count to the upside wasn't really full. Now it is. So if we now get a pullback already below the 55-week EMA, my view is, okay, you know, we might have topped because the wave count is full. It doesn't technically need to go any higher. Back here in April, I said it would still really be ideal to go higher. But now as we get more and more completion of this wave count, right, it completes more and more, the risk just that which is just full and we reverse to the downside, that risk just increases, right? So we are very attentive, you know, we pay very close attention to these. We pay very close attention to these signals. Another signal might also be, you know, if we see any 5-wave move down from here, that would be an early warning to this resistance area. I said before, if we rally into this area and we get a clear impulse down, might also be a signal. For me, not convincing yet, okay? So for me, not convincing yet. We could still be in a bullish market. Now, that hopefully answers the question. We can still get that one more high. Let's open the Bitcoin dominance chart. Let's look at the chart first, actually. Why not? Did that on Sunday as well. But basically here, what we said was in September we want to see a bounce. You know, October typically you would get like 5, 6, 7% up. It happened, right? It happened. We even reached that trend line. There was a price channel there. We got rejected, and we could now start the next leg down. Absolutely. I just haven't seen any strong evidence that we're starting the next leg down. I mean, we can track here a trend line as well, maybe. Track a trend line. I could definitely see another wider B wave. Can easily happen. So we are basically now ranging. I think we could make a case that the B wave has topped, but it takes a break at least below the trend line and 57% start the decline. The base case at the moment is that we have seen the top for this cycle in June 2025. And if we now take a look at seasonalities for Bitcoin dominance, in case you are new to this channel, and you might not know that, but we look at this regularly. By the way, October is now green, yeah? Barely. Hold on. No, change symbol. What happened? Bitcoin. Oh no, I selected stocks. Yeah, of course. No, of course. So looking at Bitcoin dominance, you see that November, I mean, October is kind of bullish. It's in line with what usually happened. Now I have to say, normally it's a bit more bullish in October, but we did that, right? We did that on the 10th of October in a flash rally. Flash rally. Yeah, and then a crash. So we actually achieved these like 4.5%. That would normally be reasonable. Now to the downside, or in November, we typically look to the downside. At least that's what historically happens. In fact, it's the second most bearish month for Bitcoin dominance historically, November, whereas October was the most bullish one. And it might be a good thing. It wasn't too bullish for Bitcoin, right? It wasn't too bullish for Bitcoin compared to altcoins. So yeah, altcoins, I shouldn't say that. It was quite dramatic actually. Okay, but that gives you an idea of what historically happened. That's not necessarily a prediction for the future, but it tells you what is normal. And so far, October was in line with what we would normally say is expected. Short-term chart, really no change here. I mean, that's why I keep it very short. If you watched yesterday's video, then you know the price could easily test that CME gap. Quick reminder, CME gap is around 111,170 to 113,440, but we're currently holding above it. Sometimes these CME gaps are just used as support. We're currently even holding the 50% retracement of the upper micro support at 113,774. So it will be important to see if we can hold above it. But there are many support levels below. Yeah, all the way down to $108,670. So as long as pullbacks remain corrective and we don't get 5-wave movements to the downside, which we don't have at the moment, I would still prefer higher. And it might just take a moment. And 117,611 is the next. It is going to be strong resistance. I mean, we came very close. That was my next target. We came super close already. Yeah, we already reached 116,440. So, but one more high still would likely be very ideal because it would be the 100% extension of the initial move to the upside. But we'll see. We'll see how it develops today. I think altcoins could get interesting. So I'll keep you updated. Hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And if you're interested in additional updates, then make sure to also follow us on X. I'll leave a link in the comment section. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.